Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Magicshine Airro Mini Electric Bike Tire Inflator. Electric bike pumps are quickly becoming one of the most popular bike accessories of the year, with brands like Trek, Silica, and even unexpected companies like Muc-Off creating their own variations. That's why you shouldn't be surprised that Magicshine, a company known for their lights and electronics, has just joined the market with the new Airro Bike Tire Inflator. Packaging-wise, you can see it right nice and sleek. You have the orange and black coloring that we know Magicshine for, really glossy representation on the pump, branding on there, and then the features on the side, and then the back side. I'll go ahead and open this up. We'll go over the specs. So retail price on this is a competitive $89.99. It has a 120 PSI maximum with a large LED screen and a 500 milliamp internal battery that gives you up to 3 to 4 inflations from empty, depending on the tire size. You have USB Type-C charging, so really easy to charge and quick to charge, as well as a visible brushless motor. So that's one of the cool features. You can actually see the head of the motor here through the little transparent windows. As far as what comes with it, you can see really nice packaging. You have the pump itself with the little plastic protectors on top of the screen. So nice to take off. Then you have a little carry bag, so a little plastic waterproof one. You have a bag full of accessories here. So you can see we have all the adapters. This one you get the Presta and Schrader ones, and you can see they're actually labeled, so really hard to mistake them for each other. You have an extension hose, USB Type-C charging cable, which a lot of companies don't even include anymore, and then a separate Presta adapter that you can use with the hose. There's also a ball needle adapter that you can use with the pump to inflate mattresses or other items. You have a user manual that's tucked inside the silicone case, and you can use this to reduce the vibrations and heat. Now let's take a look at the weight of the pump. So the pump by itself with no adapters, that is 144 grams, so competitive but not the lightest on the market. You'll definitely need at least something like the Presta one if you have a road bike. So that is only 3 grams. And you can also use the extension in combination with some of the other attachments. This one is Schrader, right out of the bag, and then you can install the Presta adapter on there. That's only 13. Visually, the Magicshine Airro has a classic compact rectangular profile with a plastic and metal outer body. As far as dimensions, the pump is approximately 3 by 1.9 by 125 inches, or 77 by 47 by 31 millimeters, which makes it small enough to easily fit in your pocket or your saddlebag. One of the most unique visual features of this pump, though, is the fact that you have this little transparent window. So kind of a cool feature. It's borderline gimmicky, and you can see the motor head right through that window and through the sides. So it's an interesting feature that helps it kind of stand out in a pretty crowded marketplace. This isn't the first time we've seen this. The new COOSPO X1 actually has a very similar feature, so I suspect we'll see more pumps with this design. Otherwise, the pump has a nice gunmetal metal body on the main portion, so pretty attractive. Basic branding, Magicshine, a little hot indicator on the top, and then the Airro Inflator written on the side. And then the rest of the body is this plastic material. So you can see it is textured, which is really nice. So you have these textured lines here that make it nice and grippy, so you can really grab this and use it. And you can see that on the front edge as well, with that little tinted transparent window. With this one, you have the inflator on the front, and then the screen on the back, so pretty easy to use. You just hold it and inflate it. And on the bottom, you have the USB port, which is usually a ventilation hole as well. And that's nice and out of the place. You won't typically cover it unless you really try to do it on purpose. The user interface on this is also really simple. Big, nice LED screen, so you can see the target pressure here. So every time you adjust it, you see the target. And then if you let go, it goes back to the current pressure. A 3-bar battery indicator on the bottom left. The unit display underneath the pressure. If I hold the plus and minus, I can toggle between PSI and bar. So if you want different units. So really simple. There is no flashlight or anything else, so you just have the up and down to adjust the pressure. And if you hold the button, you can see it does it really quickly. The plus and minus is almost reversed. So plus is on the left and minus is on the right. So a little bit counterintuitive, but otherwise really simple. You press the power button again when it's on to start pumping. And you can see it kind of sounds like a duck, which is interesting. So a unique sound, and again, if I turn it on, you can see that motor. But definitely a unique sound, probably because of the way this body is designed. It also turns off automatically after 1 minute, so if you forget to turn it off, it automatically powers down, so it'll conserve the battery. You have a 500 milliamp battery on here, which can inflate up to 2 to 3 700 by 28 tires from empty to 80 psi. So a pretty decent sized battery that's competitive with everything else on the market. And if you have a 700 by 45, you can go up to 50 psi from empty 2 times. So you can definitely use it a couple times, but you will need to charge it if you get more than a few flats. As far as the nozzles, that's the main differentiation between a lot of these pumps. With this one, you have the threaded design on the front face. So with nothing on there, you obviously have to attach something. You can attach the ball needle attachment, so it threads directly on, or you can use the individual Presta or Schrader ones. And you can see here, they're actually the same color, which is unfortunate. Would have been nice if they're different colors, but they are labeled, so you don't have to guess. And you can always really tell what they are if you just look inside. So you can see with the Presta, it's usually open, and then the Schrader usually have something sticking out. So these both can thread directly onto the pump. So if you want to just thread it directly on, you can use the pump right on there. You also have an extension hose. So a pretty decent size, couple inches long with a rotating head. This one will thread on as well. And you need this if you're using TPU, as these can get really hot. So with this one, you get a little more distance, get between spokes. And it's designed for the Schrader right out of the box, and then you have to install a separate adapter if you want to go to Presta. So it's kind of unfortunate there's a separate piece. It's not a reversible design, so if you want to use a hose, you usually just want to attach the one you're going to use or carry the additional pieces. There also is a silicone case, and you can see that even preserves the transparent window, so it has a little cutout for that, but they definitely don't look as good outside of the case. So it looks better if you just ride it with it by itself, but it can definitely get scratched, so it's good to use that little bag that's included if you want to put in your saddlebag. Now let's take a look at the pump in action. As you can see here, the screen is nice and large, so you can see exactly the target pressure you're using, and you have that cool little window. Here we have a 700 by 28 tire, and we're going to inflate it up to that 65 psi. The Presta valve here is just a slide-on design, so you slide it on and you start pumping. And you can see it inflates fairly fast, not the fastest one of these on the market, but competitive, so it's not the slowest or the fastest, right in between. And you can see with the screen, it updates in real time. And with the combination of plastic and metal body, it's not too hot, so it gets around 70 degrees depending on where you touch it. So definitely easy to use even without the silicone case. But I would recommend using a bag or something if you want to put in a saddlebag, just to prevent it from getting scratched. Here you can see really low temperature, especially on the sides. The hottest part is the nozzle itself, which you want to avoid touching. Here you can see a little comparison between the Trek and the CYCPLUS AS2. So for the same tire, same inflation pressure, you can see the CYCPLUS is a little bit faster. So the smallest pump we've used, but really fast. The Trek is a little bit slower, but more polished. You can see dual colors. You can see the target pressure and current pressure, and the bigger buttons, which is easier to use. They have the screen on the side. It doesn't seem to really matter where you put it. I think either one works on the side or the top. But otherwise, similar sound. They're all fairly loud and obnoxious. The Magicshine is a little bit lower toned, which is nice. Gives that kind of duck call, but it's less annoying as the pitch is a little bit lower. So you can see here the CYCPLUS wins to 65, and then for a couple extra PSI, you can see the Magicshine gets there a little before the Trek. But very competitive and pretty good for their first pump. As you can see here, there's a ton of options on the market already, but with the Magicshine, it's one of the newer ones, and it has a cool transparent window, which we actually just saw with the COOSPO X1. So you can see very similar design, which makes me wonder if they are sharing some components, as it's exact same placement as a nozzle, but you do have some differences here. The COOSPO is a little bit more affordable, it has these weird attachments, so to run the Presta, you can see you have to run this long one, and to run Schrader, you actually have to use extension hose, while Magicshine has the more traditional separate pieces. With both of these though, you do have that exposed motor, which is kind of cool. So you can see that with the Magicshine, kind of sounds like a duck too. So a little bit different tone. versus the COOSPO here. The user interface is also very similar. You both have screens here, but the nice thing about the Magicshine is you can change the units. With the COOSPO you can't. We also have the Trek here, so one of the newer pumps on the market as well. Nice thing about Trek though is you have a color screen, so it's either green or white, and you can see the target pressure and current pressure at the same time. I think the Magicshine buttons are actually kind of reversed. I would have expected minus on the left and plus on the right, like you see with the Trek. A little bit bigger screen, and with this one you actually have a flashlight, so you can see when I'm inflating. You can see the flashlight. It's a little bit louder than the Magicshine, so it's nice that the Magicshine is a little bit lower tone, but sizing wise, very similar. Maybe a little bit larger, but not enough to really matter. And with both of these, you can see this one doesn't have a silicone case, and the Magicshine does have one because it has the metal construction. Topeak also has their own pump, and you can see very similar in size. The Topeak is a little bit larger. You don't have the exposed motor, but you have their smart head. So rather than putting on the adapters, it has a little switch. So if you want to use this pump directly on the valve and not use the extension hose, you can just set the type directly on there, which is kind of cool. But if you're using the extension hose, this doesn't matter, so that's one downside. Very similar screens, and again, you can see the plus and minus are reversed. And a little bit different tone. But otherwise very similar. There are smaller pumps on the market, so if you don't care about a gauge, something like the AS2 without the gauge is a little bit tinier. And if you don't need the portability, something like the Fantic X9 here, you can see much larger and quieter with a bigger battery, so nice for topping off at home or traveling with when you don't want to bring it on the bike. Now let's go over the pros and cons of the Magicshine Airro. What we like about it, it's competitively priced, so a little bit more affordable than Trek and some other bigger brands with a lot of the same features. You also have a large battery for multiple inflations with one charge, so you don't have to worry about running out, especially if you fully charge it before you start riding. Also has that unique transparent window that lets you see the top of the motor, which is about the first time we've seen this and gives you something to watch while you're inflating. The main negatives with this pump is the fact you do have smaller buttons, and they are kind of reversed, which is strange. So the plus really should be on the right to increase, while the negative sign to reduce should be on the left side. Also, Magicshine has used a separate Presta adapter for the extension, which is a little bit unusual. Would have been nice if it was just the same piece. So the extension requires two pieces if you want to use Schrader and Presta. It would have been nice if there was just a reversible piece like we've seen with other companies to reduce the number of small parts. Taking everything into account would give the Airro 9.1 out of 10. It's a nice compact and competitive bike pump from Magicshine. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is The Sweet Cyclist reminding you, enjoy the ride.